You're still live on the pulse on your election headquarters, the Joint News channel on Multi TV. And today, the former president, John Kufuor, has asked the Electoral Commission to ensure the upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections are transparent to call the growing tension in the country. He's been speaking in an exclusive interview with my colleague, Blekusu.
They said they had come for pre-election assessments of our country to see how the organizations they represent might be able to assist us in going through the elections peacefully. It was a worthy cause, and they all seemed to know a bit of Ghana. They kept on referring to Ghana as a symbol of peace and stability and good governance and electoral systems. So but then they acknowledge that there's nothing like a perfect electoral system. So what to do to improve our system? So we allay the tensions and fears that seem to be in the country.
And of course, you have seen a number of elections. What is your own pre-assessment going into the December polls?
There's tension in the country because of some experiences the people generally have had since the launch of the Fourth Republic, the electoral experiences. And since I would say the institution of the Electoral Commission is evolving, like our society is also evolving, we should seek to underpin our electoral process and procedures with transparency, impartiality. So outcomes of the competition, because elections are competitive, we seek to ensure fair outcomes. When the outcomes are fair, I have a feeling Ghanaians, we are naturally a peaceful people. Everybody would accept. The winner would be acknowledged. The loser would prove to be a sportsman or woman. So violence would not attend the process.
Finally, sir, you are talking about tension being in the country. What sort of tension have you seen, and why do you think people are tensed?
You are a journalist. You should be telling me.
But from your perspective, what you have monitored?
Charged with, we want peace. The Peace Council is talking traditional authorities, political. Everybody is talking peace, peace, peace. If there weren't tension, you think we would talk like that? Perhaps tension, if you like, another word for it is nervous. People are nervousness. Nervousness is the other word for tension. And it's all because, you see, given the perception that the winner takes everything in Ghana, and so we are approaching times when the community or society is called on to decide who will be the winner. Everybody wants it, and naturally, I say wherever there's power, there's tension. People are struggling to see if they can get it. So they would be the managers of all. And this is the source of the tension. But we should be able, with our evolution and maturation, to manage the institutions, especially the Electoral Commission, in such a way as to give transparent, free and fair election that will be respected across the board.
So that's the former president, John Kufuor, speaking to my colleague, Blekusu. This was after the former president had been visited by some officials from the Democratic Institute from the United States and also the Republican institution that went to visit him today at his residence. That'll be it for the former president, John Kufuor. We'll bring you more on that, plus other things happening in the country election-wise in just a moment. But I will bring you those other stories. Tell you what, the Ghana Cocoa Board has today given contractors working on the Obuasi Dunkwao Ayamfui Road a 1-month ultimatum to improve on their performance or lose their jobs. Chief Executive Dr. Stephen Opuni is dissatisfied with the pace of work, even though the contractors have received the funds. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Two construction firms, Falco Limited and Usia Ghana Limited, are to receive their third warning letters to that effect. While Falco has done only 10% out of the targeted 30% of work expected this month, Usia Ghana has covered 48% against 77% expected of the 24-kilometer project at a cost of 59.8 million Ghana cedis. Dr. Opuni issued the ultimatum during an inspection tour on Tuesday with Roads and Highways Minister Inusa Fuseni in attendance.
The contract was awarded to you. We signed a contract in April 2015, and we paid you advance mobilization to come to site in May 2015. However, you delayed for 3 months before moving to site. You're supposed to have done about 77% of the project by now. You've done, according to the regional engineer, 48%. The excuse of relocation of pipelines in Dunkwao town roads, I don't want to know, because the road does not start from the town. It starts so many kilometers away, and as we travel along it, we all have seen that you delayed unduly. We've already given you 2 warning letters. I'm told you are one of the best contractors in the country. If I see where you've already applied the bitumen, it's excellent. But the fact that you have delayed unduly, we're going to give you the 3rd and final warning letter that we're going to write it tomorrow. If you don't make up for the 30% deficit within a month, I'll proceed to terminate the contract.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
So 1 month ultimatum given to these contractors. It will be interesting to find out whether or not, in their haste to meet this deadline, whether the integrity of the work they will do will also stand the test of time. Let's see what happens in a month's time after the deadline given them expires. That will be it from the Ashanti region and the Cocoa area roads. Let's move on to some other news this afternoon, because government has assured that a number of things will be done. But several parts of Blekusu, a fishing community in the Volta region, are without electricity as we speak. Now, this is because hundreds of electrical poles there have been washed away as a result of the rising sea level. Hundreds of homes have also been lost as a result of the situation. Joining us, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo visited the community for our latest Holland documentary, Climate Refugees.
Communities like Blekusu in the Ketch South constituency are bearing the brunt of the defenses raised at Keta now. Blekusu is gradually going under the sea.
Well, this community is called Blekusu. It's in the Ketu South district of the Volta region. It's one of the communities that's really been battered as a result of the rise in the sea level. The residents have just been explaining to me that there had been residents and also houses located as far as where you can see that boat in the sea, and all along that area till this area where we're standing now, there used to be houses located, but over the last 15-20 years the sea has been approaching, and the result is that all the houses that used to exist there, hundreds of them have been washed into the sea.
Well, seriously speaking, I can say that around 1960s that way this sea erosion has begun, and it has caused a lot of devastation of the houses that were close to the sea. And as at now, about 10 years ago, it's like most of the houses were now into the sea, about 2 kilometers away from the houses that you can see at my back.
And there are more stories of loss and destruction. This woman, a trader here, has a family of 17. They used to live in a 5-bedroom house, which has now been completely submerged.
Store hall. And the one we have there is a 3-bedroom chamber and hall. and the store is also attached to it, and the KVIP and the other ancillary to the house. And there was a wall around the house. All of those houses and the wall has now been destroyed.
Several parts of Blekusu are without electricity now after most electrical poles were washed away by the sea.
Because of the tidal wave sea erosion, most of the electricity poles that we have along the coast has been removed because they are into the sea. So as at now, most of the community members who are along the coast doesn't have lights in their houses. A lot more fishermen, when they get the fish, they store in their fridges. But because there's no light in some parts of the houses, they can't operate their refrigerators and some other things anymore. So it has really affected business in the community.
Joseph filed that report from Blekusu, and that's part of a documentary that will air sometime this month here on the Joy News channel. It's called Climate Refugees. You wait out for that particular documentary. Now, government has assured unemployed graduate nurses of employment after persistent calls by the group. The coalition of unemployed bonded graduate nurses took to the streets today to register their displeasure over government's failure to employ them upon graduation from their institutions. We'll hear from the Chief Director at the Health Ministry in just a moment, but let's hear from the nurses today who took to the streets in that demonstration.
They said they are working on it, but we've been going there for a very long time and they've been reassuring us. We don't know if this one will work, but if it doesn't work, like we said, we will take legal action against the government. So that is what we are planning to do the next action. That is our next action, to take a legal action against the government. We've been pursuing this issue for about 1.5 years now. All attempts and what do you call it, follow-ups done to make them clear as has not been successful. So them coming, they are aware of our issue already. So we are hoping that they just clear us so that we'll have our peace. We've spoken to the PR of the Ministry of Health, the Human Resource Director of the Ministry of Health, and some other influential people at the ministry. But it's been all our efforts has fell on deaf ears. So we think this petition that they've taken, we are hoping that they clear us. If they don't clear us, we will advise ourselves.
Well, the acting chief director at the Health Ministry, Dr. Afisa Zakaria, who received the petition on behalf of government, assured them of their readiness to address their plight.
Omission, it wasn't deliberate. You know, when they compile the list and bring to us, we allow the agencies and the institutions to compile the list. Once they bring the list, then we will add a covering letter. We put everything together and then submit to the Ministry of Finance for clearance. These days, they want us to get clearance for you before you practice. And it is a process. We can just post you. But we don't want to do that such that you'll be working and then you'll not be getting salary. Because everything needs to be budgeted for. Your names have been submitted. Yes, they were omitted the initial stage. We've submitted their processing, your names, then you'll all be absorbed. Nobody will leave you behind. No hope is lost. Ministry of Health, don't pay you directly. It's down to you. And then you need to get clearance to post you. Who is your leader? I give you my number. I'm not giving you deadline that.
We are only 82. We are only 82. You are only 82.
You are 82.
We are only 82.
Okay, so you take my number and then you follow up. Okay?
Mama.
No, you see, all of them, that's why I'm saying it's a process. It's not like when you come to me, unlike at first you just post you see, now into a lower middle income account. And we also need to start planning. That is why the planning phase is so we have to plan and then budget for all all of it. So that when you are working on a monthly basis, your salary will come without your acting chief director of the Ministry of Health. So for health, we are all in it together. I know you would like to go out there and work for big money, but let's think of Mother Ghana first.
So, government has spoken to these unemployed bonded nurses. Let's see what happens and whether or not they are employed in the coming days or not. Still staying in the health sector, the National Health Insurance Authority is taking measures to crack down on service providers who work with private health insurance companies but are not accredited. This follows investigations conducted by the authority into some queries from sections of the public who sought redress for poor quality service delivery. The board secretary and head of private health insurance schemes at the NHIA, Diana Oye Ahene, says such companies are mandated under Act 852 to seek accreditation as a means of ensuring quality healthcare provision. But according to Madam Ohene, a number of them have not complied since the law was passed. She was addressing these concerns to private health insurance scheme providers during the Acacia Stakeholders Forum.
Enshrined in the law, Act Section 100 of the Act 852 states clearly that a PHI shall not use the services of a healthcare provider or facility in the provision of its services unless it has been credentialed. The first is accredited by a relevant agency. And the relevant agency here is HIFRA. They give the accreditation to all the healthcare facilities. And after they've given the facilities, if they want to do business with PHIS, they want to supply, become a provider of provide services for any PHIS, that is a scheme, you must be credentialed by the National Health Insurance Authority. If you do not do this, I would like all of you to know that it is in your interest to ensure that if you're going to a provider, you must check if that provider has been credentialed by the National Health Insurance Scheme. In that case, your quality of service is somehow assured. That is what the law says. Because we will go around there to check what services they provide for you. And, well, there's no provider here too, but then if the scheme is also having a problem with non-payments, just like the NHIS, but the NHIS is better off because it's government, it's public, and they have a lot of property to pay. Just if government owes you, government will pay. But we are not too sure about the schemes, if they owe you, if they can pay all of it. So you must be very careful in dealing with a scheme that is not credentialed. Because when such issues happen and they write to us, the first thing we check is whether that provider is credentialed. A few lawyers have come to my office, and apparently the providers did not do the right thing. So I showed them this act, this portion of the Act, Section 100, and they were very worried that that was not done. So immediately they went and asked for it. I must say that it wasn't so much of the fault of the providers too, because this was not being enforced previously. When the law came into force at 852, they were already doing this business without that. So it was sort of after the acts